Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 113 of the Ringside Rundown podcast. My name is Eric Vasquez, and joining me on the line is my podcasting partner in crime. Yes, that rhymes. She is Shay Hickson. Shay, what's going on, my friend?
Yeah, what is up? We are off a backlash. It's I'd say been a pretty decent week so far. Can't complain.
Yeah, it's been a great week for wrestling, like you said. We're just coming off of Backlash, so obviously we have a lot to talk about. But settle in, get comfortable for a new episode of the Ringside Rundown. If you're a new listener here, welcome to the show. Thank you for listening. This is a question and answer podcast that deals with pro wrestling, where our lovely listeners like to send us in some questions about what's going on, and we answer them, give our opinions, and that's why. That's how we formulate the show. And today, like you mentioned, we have some backlash stuff, a little bit of AEW stuff, a nice little light show for some good digesting when it comes to wrestling talk.
Yeah, sometimes you just need a good little easy episode, and I think we're
Yeah,
gonna we're gonna give that to you.
definitely. So we have a bunch of questions, so why don't we get right into it?
All right, we're gonna start off. We're gonna shake it up a little bit. We're gonna start off with Mike's questions,
Oh, nice.
and Mike's starting off hot with: Does Nick Nemeth show up in AEW or WWE again?
Mm, that's a good
Um,
question.
yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I feel like he'd be more inclined to go back to WWE because at least he'd have some
Mm,
competent storytelling, maybe.
yeah.
But he could do good in AEW too. That I mean, maybe. I mean, it kind of just depends. I have a feeling in AEW, especially, it'd kind of get lost in the fold a little bit. So
Mm,
I'm just gonna say if it's one or the other, I would think he'd have a better chance of doing something in WWE than AEW. But
yeah.
that's just me.
Yeah, I would agree. I'd say if he had to go to another place, I think he's a perfect fit for TNA right now. He's a big enough name that gives TNA some credibility,
Yeah.
and he's reliable in the ring, so you know he's going to put on solid performances. So I think TNA ultimately is the best place for him. But I think yeah, with the way things are with AEW right now, it's like the situation is they have so many guys trying to get to the top. Like they don't have the established hierarchy, like top tier stuff, and then
Yeah.
some solid stuff in the middle, and then up and comers at the end to kind of balance out their roster. It's like everybody's shooting for the top, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but they're a young company still. They're still trying to find their footing, a little bit of identity issues here and there. So it's like, do you want a veteran with the resume like Nick Nemeth to have to be one to claw, to get to certain situations? Because not everybody's going to be like a Christian Cage situation who can completely reinvent themselves and essentially restart the prime of their career. Jericho's there, and Jericho's the master of reinvention, and he really
Eh,
hasn't been able to do it, in
no.
AEW. And that's just because, again, the focal point should be the young up and coming talent. And again, the roster depth is just so packed, that it would be hard for someone like Nick Nemeth to really make an impact like he came with TNA. You put him in TNA with that roster, he's in the upper echelon, and it makes complete sense. So yeah, I think if he had to go to another place, it'd probably be WWE, because it's he Dolph Ziggler is a solid name already built up to Hall of Fame credentials, and like you said, he would go there with a fresh creative sense of purpose.
Yeah, exactly. So we say WWE. I'm sure
Yeah.
someone's gonna could disagree, but that's why we do this, right? We want the different opinions just
Yeah, if
to
you
just
if
to
you
see.
disagree, tell us why.
Yeah. Whew. Which TNA roster member would we like to see in AEW and WWE, respectfully,
Mm.
respectively? That's a tough one. Well, let me got the roster up here right now. So, of course, I'm more partial to the women's. So, I mean, I'd like to see Jordan Grace back in WWE again. I mean, we got a little bit of a taste when she was in
Yeah.
the Rumble. I'd like to see what she would do with a full
Definitely.
fleshed out story and a full fleshed out kind of um, rivalry with some of the women in there. Like her and Jay Cargill would be insane. Her Bianca
Yeah.
Belair, like Becky Lynch, pretty much everybody in the roster. She'd have a great
Mhm.
match with. AW wise, I'll go out on a limb and say I'd want to see Killer Kelly. Because
Killer Kelly would do great in AEW.
I've always liked Killer Kelly, even when she was like Mae Young Classic, like NXT.
Yeah.
It's a shame they never got like did anything with her because she could definitely rise to the occasion. Like I mean, her match with Miko Satomura in the Mae Young Classic, I still remember to this day where everyone wrote her off immediately. It's like,
Right.
this is just going to be a complete squash match, whatever. And those two had probably one of the best matches of that entire tournament.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see what she would do with the AEW women. She would do really good in that division, I think.
Yeah. It's like, but the thing is, like, she has sort of not really a full-fledged, full-on spooky gimmick, but she has like a spooky vibe to her.
Oh yeah,
And it's like spooky vibes is definitely in when it comes to wrestling. I mean, you look
yeah.
at you look at Rhea Ripley, Tatum Paxley, Albert Fire, Isla Dawn. Then
Hmm.
you look over at AEW, Julia Hart, Sky Blue. They're doing the spooky girl gimmick, and it's like
We
it,
love it.
yeah, it really is because they're all doing a great job at it, you know.
Yeah,
But I feel like Killer Kelly, she just like she has a spooky vibe, but it's like a spooky cool.
she has
It's
that
not,
edge.
yeah, it's not like a spooky trying to be scary. It's a
Yeah,
spooky kind of I'm just really cool, you know. And
exactly.
yeah, so she really should be a bigger deal on a bigger stage with like AEW or WWE. I agree, for sure. Um, Speedball would do great in AEW.
Oh
Speedball
yeah,
Mike Bailey, I think, would do great in AEW. I think Jonathan Gresham would do great in WWE.
absolutely.
Yeah, I think because WWE has a real good crop of technical wrestlers from NXT all the way up to WWE. I think he would do great in WWE. And Chris Bay and Ace Austin, the tag team.
Yeah.
They would do great either or. They would do great in NXT or
Hmm.
they would do great in AEW. So either or, they would be perfect. That's the thing with TNA is that they have a lot of great talent that unfortunately it feels like they cultivate them to be taken up by AEW or WWE, you know?
Yeah.
So they constantly have to kind of keep filling the roster with stuff and then eventually they get swept up by either or company because ever since they switched over, you know, to Impact Wrestling and Anthem kind of took over and Scott D'Amore was in charge, like they really tried to separate themselves from trying to be identical to any other thing in wrestling. So good for TNA. I hope it continues. Unfortunately, they didn't have a very good pay-per-view number for the last pay-per-view they put on, but
Hmm.
again, the talent is there.
Yeah, it's just the exposure is kind of
Yeah,
the issue.
that could be a big thing because I don't have access to current TNA programming.
Yeah.
The closest access I have is like I have a smart TV, so it comes with a
Yeah.
lot of apps that have like free live TV, and there is a TNA channel. The only thing is like the programming is about a month old, you know,
Yeah.
so you can't really keep up that way.
Yeah, that's a little tough, especially when you and I have a podcast like this. It's very hard to talk about something that happened a month ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So maybe one day they'll try to at least establish themselves as like a third like alternative of wrestling or just a third choice, but for now it's pretty much down to two, but
Yeah.
you never know. Was France the best crowd ever? I
Yeah,
mean, hard to top it.
yeah, I don't that was my kind of wrestling crowd.
Oh yeah.
Just loud, energetic throughout the entire show. But like I was saying on the streams, it's like they don't they don't make the show about themselves. They
No.
actually are this energetic because they want to add to the ambiance of everything, the importance of everything. You
Yeah.
know, it's just cool that to see passion for professional
Yeah.
wrestling. And what it is really, we in the States and in North America, we're spoiled,
Yeah.
because we have so much access to not only the programming but the actual superstars themselves. People in France, people in Austria and Italy and these places that they went to on this European tour, they don't have that readily access to WWE programming. I remember when SmackDown was on, there was someone from France that was in the chat that just wanted to watch along because they wanted to see how the English broadcast translated with
Wow.
with all the stuff that was going on, because they had seen it live for the first time in years, and
Mhm.
they wanted to stay up, and it was like 2 a.m. here or over there compared to here watching SmackDown. And this
Yeah.
person was like explaining all the chants, and one thing that stuck out was they explained that the French fan base is very old school in the sense that they really are enthusiastic about cheering for the good guys and booing the bad guys.
Mhm.
So that's why their dichotomy. And again, he was translating everything in French, so it was really cool to understand what was going on. He gave me the backstory to the AJ Styles chant,
Ah,
um,
yeah.
which was it's like a soccer chant. And he's like, it comes from a very like campy kind of poppy song. Europeans are different, and that crowd was a different breed. I mean, singing Randy Orton's theme,
Yeah.
singing Cody's theme, Jay Uso's entrance.
That was insane.
That was
Like,
just that was just
wild.
nuts. That was just nuts. It was. And then like Corey Graves posted a video of him walking out to SmackDown, like a live video from his cell phone. And you could just see those people were just going crazy before the show even started.
Yeah.
So
Set
uh
off somebody's, like, Apple Watch, like,
yeah,
the
like
like, loud levels of just noise and energy and chaos
yeah,
and
yeah, it's just like
yeah.
again, we can do that here in the States. I know it sounds crazy, but like I just feel again we're so spoiled,
Yeah.
and these things cost so much that like people are like, screw you, I'm not gonna be jumping up and down. I'm trying to enjoy my hot dog and a beer that cost me $45 on top of the ticket, So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just I mean, we can bring that energy, and we do bring the energy for the big shows, the
Yeah.
big WrestleManias and stuff like that. This was
SummerSlam, hopefully.
but this was a Backlash show, and
Yeah.
this was second year in a row that they did an sort of international thing. They went to Puerto Rico last year, and Puerto Rico went crazy.
Yeah, and
If
people forgot about that, or it was just like, "Oh, yeah, France was the best crowd ever." I'm like,
yeah.
"Damn, we just forgot." And that's how crazy because it's like, we just forgot about Puerto Rico because people were saying that last year.
Yeah, it's just the craziest thing that it was on the same event being Backlash.
Yeah.
That's historically been considered like a B-level pay-per-view, you
Yeah, not
know?
anymore.
Not anymore, so that's really cool. I'm interested in seeing that since Backlash is the international pay-per-view that's consistently get rave reviews, where are they gonna go next year for Backlash?
I
You
don't
know?
know, they're gonna have to I mean, unfortunately, nowhere in the States. Like, it's actually crazy to me that, I mean, full disclosure, as you heard the production meeting this morning, I was at war with Ticketmaster trying to get SummerSlam tickets, which good news, we did. So we're going to SummerSlam in a couple
Nice.
months. So happy about that. But as I'm sitting there waiting, because when I got there, I was like almost 16,000 people in front of me in the line. And
Mm.
I'm like, what the fuck is this? Because this wasn't even that bad for WrestleMania. But then I realized because SummerSlam in Cleveland, of all places, yes, I know it's Cleveland, but that's the only US pay per view this year.
Yeah, so far.
Everything is either in Europe or in Canada. And so I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
I guess this
WrestleMania.
does make sense. Which is like, it was just crazy to me because I did not have to wait that long in line for WrestleMania tickets. I don't know why, but it was like I literally sat there because normally I try to do them on my break because usually 10 o'clock's when I go on break at work. And so I was trying to get these tickets and I went in early. I
Mm.
fought with Ticketmaster because their app sucks, which what else is new? And so when I finally get into the queue, it was like literally 15,900 and I don't know, let's say like 46 people are ahead of you. And I'm like, I got in this waiting room 15 minutes early. I'm like, what is this? But that's when I realized this is the only American pay per view we have so far this year. So
Yeah.
people want them, and the prices kind of reflected that a little bit. But I did think it was kind of funny that everybody on Twitter, I don't know if you saw it, were freaking out because they're like, oh my god, the prices for the upper level seats are like $500 and this is going to be absolutely insane. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, yeah, the priority pass upper level tickets are $550. There's no way that I would have paid almost 5 times more for a nosebleed for SummerSlam than I would have for WrestleMania. So it's like, the guys, come on, like use your noodles a little bit. And I can confirm that that was not the case, but you guys will just have to wait and see where we're sitting. But we got a pretty good some pretty good seats. But
Yeah. They sound like great seats.
yeah, they were. I mean, they weren't cheap, but they also weren't the most expensive seats. There were some where it was like the lower level. We'll just say like the first 3 or 4 like rows of the lower level on the camera side. So we may be on TV, who knows? But it was like $2,000 a seat,
Wow.
and I'm
Oh,
like, this was like floor seats for WrestleMania, at least as far as I remember. But I don't remember what the single night tickets were. But I'm just like, $2,000 to sit. I don't know. We'll just say rows 1 through 5 and 134, which is like their 50-yard line, like dead center. And I'm like, this is crazy. This is
yeah.
just like insane. I did not pick those seats just in case. Like I did not drop $4,000 on tickets. I don't want a death wish, but yeah, ticket prices are insane. But I'd like to think that hopefully Cleveland can maybe not get to France levels, but they could get pretty rowdy. I
Yeah,
hope.
yeah, we all want them to get rowdy and have fun, and not make it sound like they're watching a show inside of a library.
Yes, exactly, because I mean, it is only one of the well, they say 5 now pay-per-views for WWE, so you think you might want to make some noise. Like it's not every day that you get to go to a big 5 pay-per-view, so
Yeah, have
whatever.
fun, enjoy the show. I mean, especially with the way it is now, you know that they're going to I have a feeling that the WWE PLEs are going to start having the quality of the old NXT takeovers where we're like
Yeah.
there's no cuz remember that point where we were like there's no way they can keep up this pace of having continuous A plus takeover
Mhm.
events. But
They
it
kept
was
doing it.
yeah, it was just like every takeover, that was really good. That was really good.
Yep.
That was really good. It was insane the run that they went on with these takeovers. I have a feeling that we're going to see that with the WWE PLEs. I mean, Backlash was as solid of a PLE of a non WrestleMania PLE as you're going to get. I mean,
Yeah.
in a lot of ways, it exceeded expectations. Um, everybody was complaining about the size of the card only having 5 matches,
Didn't
and
matter.
yeah, and like I said on social media, I can't really complain about the 5-match card anymore because everybody got a lot of time,
Yeah.
to do what they did. Everybody told great stories in the ring, so it almost seems like complaining about the lack of wrestling on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown is like the lack of it is intentional. It's like the angles, the vignettes, the promos, and a little bit of wrestling is going to entice you to want to pay attention to the PLE because that's where the good wrestling to tell more stories is going to happen.
Well, and the same thing too, where I'd rather have 5 quality matches where I'm not going to be able to pick a single match where it was like, yeah, that didn't belong on the card, as opposed to 12 to 15 where it's like, okay, do we really need like 3 to 5 of these? These could have just been on a Raw or a SmackDown or whatever. Every single match on that card belonged.
Mhm.
They all had fantastic moments, and yeah, I like the takeover as kind of PLE formatting we have. I think it's working really well so far.
Yeah, I think so too. I hope they continue it.
I do too, and I feel like it will, because why would you fix something that isn't broke? But
Yeah.
how relieved were we to see Matt Hardy in TNA and not WWE? Yeah, I was. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I love the Hardys. We talked about him last week on the tag team Mount Rushmore. He would not have fit in WWE now. Like, there's
Yeah.
just no way. They don't need the constant part timers or just the part like the constant like nostalgia acts,
Right.
they have stars on their current roster that could do those kind of have those kind of moments, have that kind of energy. It's just like I get where they use why they used to do it, but I think they just overdid it to the point of like, okay, cool, this I don't really care that they're back. Like it just wouldn't work now.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where wrestling across the board has to kind of get younger, you know?
Yes. Yep.
And it's like I talked about with you know, I obviously I go at length about Jericho and I won't do that here, but it's the same situation. It's like you would suit so much better in a mentorship role or an on-screen managerial role. I just feel like physically when Matt Hardy's in the ring, like I don't know, he did whip himself into shape while he was on his like free agent, you know, where am I going to go sort of deal. He
Yeah.
was getting into better shape and stuff like that. It's just his AEW run physically watching him was almost kind of painful. You know, it looked like you can clearly see he lost his step. You know, it looked like he kind of like maybe he was having like knee troubles or something. Like he didn't really
Yeah.
have any giddy up in his step, you
No.
know, so things didn't look as crisp. You know, and then you mix in Jeff Hardy, who's just kind of you don't know what you're gonna get with current day Jeff Hardy
No.
this day and age. So it's just like it was just a recipe. The broken gimmick in TNA is probably what got over the most,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh
but
yeah.
but then again, he doesn't have Scott D'Amore, he doesn't have Jeremy Borash, you
No.
know?
Nope.
Those were guys that let him run with the original broken gimmick and, you know, they just caught lightning in a bottle and it was super successful. I don't know how the front office management for TNA works now and how they view these things, you know, without guys like Scott D'Amore. So I don't know how good it's going to be. Again, TNA is just in a rough situation that the product is not moving like I said, I always say I don't know anything about pay-per-view buys or revenue or anything like that, but when you see that there were only 500 purchases
Ooh.
for a TNA pay-per-view, you're like, damn. And it has
Yes.
yeah, and it has nothing to do because like the roster's great. Obviously, like I
Yeah.
said, I can't really consume the product, but it doesn't seem as offensive as it did when like Hogan and Bischoff were there, like the
Hmm.
Aces and Eights stuff. Dixie Carter constantly teasing surprises that were so underwhelming. It has
Yeah.
none of that left. So I'm just left confused as to why it's not taking off. I mean, they got guys like Mustafa Ali there working. We said Nick Nemeth, Mike Santana's back there, Speedball Mike Bailey, Jonathan Gresham, Jordan Grace. You
Hmm.
know, they got a ton of great talent there. So it's just I don't know why they're not reaching the places that they need to reach.
I don't know. It's just it might be it might be kind of like a multitude of just errors, maybe,
Yeah.
or just a multitude of just roadblocks or bad luck. I think it's more bad luck than anything, but I don't know because it is a shame because they got a lot of people on that roster that could be big stars if they were given the right or the proper stage. I guess
Yeah.
maybe it's just not the right stage. I don't know. Could probably
Interesting.
spend a whole episode talking about that, to be honest. Um, well, you're gonna love this one. What is our opinion on the finger poke of doom? Mike's in the minority. He thought it was brilliant.
The finger poke of doom.
I mean, I'll just say it. I only like heard of it, and obviously my mom will like talk about it, and I saw it from like documentaries and whatever. I'll just give my short little like synopsis because I'm sure you have a better in-depth answer than I do. I just thought it was so stupid that it was funny. But I'm like, this is just so over the top, so dramatic, so whatever. It's like you can't help but just laugh at it. Like, it's just that insane.
Yeah, it's just I mean, it's tough, you know. It's tough to kind of because at the time, you know, I was still I wasn't as young, but I was still kind of young, you know, and it was hard to grasp what was kind of what was going on because you
Yeah.
didn't have access to like backstage uh things that were going on. Now that I'm a little older, you look at it from the perspective now that everybody's like, well, Hogan's kind of the politician, you know,
Mhm.
and he politicked his way to uh make a moment about himself, and it didn't make sense. And then it was the whole thing around the NWO at that time where you didn't know who was the leader of the NWO, and they were splitting up, and it was another one of those ratings sort of deals where ratings were super important back then. So
Yeah.
like it was just one of those things where they were trying to do something to garner a big reaction, and it was kind of one of those things that the reaction wasn't what they wanted. Like
Yeah.
the actual reaction to it was the opposite of what it was going to be. But it was one of those things that you saw, you know, it was kind of like the whole Monday Night Wars thing, and WWE's sort of strategy in that whole situation was that let the 83 weeks pile up. Eventually they're gonna burn themselves out,
Yeah.
you know.
Let them hang themselves essentially.
Exactly, exactly. That's the way McMahon approached it. Like he
Yeah.
didn't like it. He didn't like that he was losing, you know,
No.
but he knew that it was a marathon and not a sprint, and they were gonna do stuff
Yep.
to shoot themselves in the foot, hang themselves, like you said. And I think the finger poke was kind of, you know, just kind of the and it was like the top of that, you know, it was a
Yeah. The icing
climax.
on the cake.
Yeah, yeah, basically, you know, it was just, I don't know. Again, it's still to me a lot of stuff from that WCW did, like the finger poke of doom, Bash at the Beach 2000. There's
God.
still a lot of things like, even to this day, I don't understand why they happen.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, it's like you can hear, you know, the stories about this person politicking in WCW, that person politicking, struggles, pissed off about NWO getting shine and things like that. And correct me if I'm wrong, this was when that happened, I believe it was on a Nitro, and it was at the Georgia Dome. You know,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
it was at the Georgia Dome, first show of 1999, January 4th. You know, and WCW packed in almost 39,000 people
Yep.
in that building the day that that happened for that show. Um, it was, yeah, just like I'm reading the Wikipedia right now. It was just like it's set up basically the ultimate ending of like WCW winning the Monday Night War and the turnover that happened. And it basically was, you know, you hate to say it, but McMahon being a prophet of WCW shooting themselves in the foot because they just
Yeah.
they didn't know how to sustain their success. You know,
Nope. No,
it,
boy, did they not.
it just didn't work. And you know, it makes you wonder about stuff that's happening uh now, you know, with AEW. And
Yeah.
I get it's like a point of tribalism, but you have to look at things like, was, you know, okay, we have the brawl out situation, or
Mhm.
yeah, the media scrum from
Yeah.
Brawl Out.
Yep.
Then you have the All In situation, and it's like they're starting to pick up. You know, they're piling plates like WCW did. It's just like, what is going to be the point where we like go, okay, they have to figure this shit out, or this is going to be a sinking ship. You know,
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully that doesn't come, but
finger poke at doom. What
God,
a
throwback.
Yeah, it's just when you consider that that happened in January, and then Bash at the Beach 2000 happened in the summer 2000. It's just
Yeah.
like you can see why your brain kind of just molds everything from that late stages of WCW together. It's just
Yeah.
all a blur. It's just
Yeah.
all a blur of stupid shit. Finger poke of doom, the new blood versus the Millionaires Club or whatever Hogan was
Yeah.
trying to run, Bash at the Beach. It was a mess.
It really did seem like a mess from
It was a
what I
mess.
gathered. Yeah. Hopefully we don't have to deal with that again.
Yeah.
We don't need another one of those. What are our thoughts on the FTC wanting to do away with non-compete clauses? Can you imagine a wrestler being released from one promotion and next day being in another? That would be wild, wouldn't it? That would
Yeah.
be insane.
Yeah, it's just I'm a little confused because there were reports about this no compete stuff for wrestling, and obviously everybody, jumped on it and wanted to give their um their 2 cents about it. But it's like a lot of people were saying, oh, this for some reason won't apply to professional wrestling or something like that. I
Don't
bel
know how.
I don't know how. Again, I'm not too savvy when it comes to that stuff. I think the new rule is kind of broad, the FTC
Yeah.
rule. It's for not just wrestling, like we're accustomed to thinking. Um Again, yeah, I'm looking up links right now, but yeah, it's just nothing really concrete that says anything whether it affects wrestling or not. So we have to kind of sit and wait. It's just interesting because WWE always operated with their bigger stars like you had to wait 90 days after your contract was up
Yeah.
or no, was it 90 days after your contract was up or 90 days um after you've been released?
I think it was after you've been released.
Yeah, because if your contract was up, because I'm thinking of the Dean Ambrose John Moxley situation
Mm.
where he
Yeah.
was like, I didn't go home or anything like that. I worked all the dates on my contract that I was supposed to, and then I was out of there. So
Yeah.
when it comes to like the front office stuff, like and contract stuff and revenues and stuff. I'm not the wisest person to ask
No,
because that's
me
just
neither.
yeah, that's just like I tried to be because I thought that that was important, and then I was just like, this shit doesn't mean anything to me.
No.
Like if if you think about it, if someone leaves one company, you know,
Mhm.
and I like them and I like their style of wrestling. I really like what they do. I'm gonna support them whatever company they go to.
Exactly.
I'm just a fan of theirs. So like whether or not, oh, this person's going to this company, that person, like it doesn't matter. At least I get to still watch them do what they do.
Exactly.
I guess it sucks that you have to wait 90 days. So maybe there's gonna be some change with that where they maybe have to decrease the amount of days. I don't know what the benefits of making someone wait 90 days to you know start a new job or something like that. But again,
Yeah.
I'm not a corporate guy. I'm just a fan that likes to watch what's on the TV.
We're just fans.
Yeah, yeah, we're just simple fans.
Yeah, we just simple fans that like simple wrestling.
Yeah,
So we'll have to see if anything comes of that. You never know, honestly.
yeah, I would just have to wait and see, and then when they actually make a ruling about what's going on, I'll be able to read it from somebody way smarter than me, and then kind of
Yeah.
understand what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. So heading over to AEW, Christian was a good choice for Swerve's first feud. They should be able to have a great match at Double or Nothing, which I agree. I think they
Mhm.
should. If it hadn't been Christian, though, who would we have wanted it to be?
Mm. It would have to be somebody big because they have to um continue that sort of rise where like ever since
Yeah,
Joe took the title, it's had that importance of like we're only going to have important people taking on the champion for the championship.
yeah,
So I thought Christian was a really wise choice because everybody sort of forgot,
yeah,
or at least
yeah,
I did. Like he didn't even cross my mind. But he
yeah.
was a wise choice. If it wasn't for him, who would be a viable contender for the title? Um, it's like they
It's
they
tough.
they have the rankings, but they don't even use the rankings.
even though they were bringing the rankings back.
Yeah,
Like, I don't get it. Oh God, who could it have been?
I'm looking now, and it's just like, well, it'd be nice if the AEW website would actually work.
Yeah, well, let me
It's
see if
not
I can.
even loading.
Oh, that's great. All right, let me see if I got it. See if I have better luck.
All right, so I'm looking. I mean, Okada already has a belt. Roderick Strong already has a belt. Copeland has a belt. The hell with
Mm,
Jericho.
yeah, we don't we don't want that.
Jay White would have been okay.
I was gonna say Jay, but just going through some of these. I mean, we're biased towards House of Black, but I'd rather them not lose
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
Again,
Um,
Claudio,
Claudio. Um,
maybe question
maybe,
mark.
maybe.
Hey, at least I remember Dan still exists. He's still on the website, even though they've done nothing with him.
um,
That's a whole other mess. I don't want to get into that.
you could have maybe did something with Daniel Garcia,
Maybe.
to build him up. Uh,
Uh,
Eddie Kingston would have kind of been tough.
yeah,
I,
because you can't have him lose again.
yeah, objectively, I
Um,
kind of would have liked to see it. Hook would have been. I mean, but Hook did lose his one shot against
yeah.
Joe when he got the first shot. So
Takeshita would be fun.
Takeshita would have been great. That would have been really, really, really good. Actually,
I
I'm
would like to see
honest.
it.
Yeah, I think honestly that would have been a great first choice.
That would
You
have been
know,
fun. Okay, all right, settled then.
yeah,
Can Takeshita.
Takeshita, yeah,
All right.
because Don Callis could have did some great stuff there. Or yeah, Don Callis with Swerve, could have did
Yeah.
some great stuff. Don, as much as people dislike him, he's a great heater, as they say in wrestling.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
He's just, especially for a guy like Takeshita. I mean, I don't know how good his English is and if he can cut a promo or anything like that. But to have a guy like Don Callis who can build him up as a lethal, almost like a lethal assassin, like an enforcer
Yeah.
for the Don Callis family, especially now that Hobbs is out for due to injury,
Yeah.
which sucks.
Poor Hobbs.
Yeah, so hopefully he gets better. But yeah, if not Christian Cage, which I think was a very smart move, Takeshita would have been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get it soon. Maybe we'll get it at some point. Who knows? I hope so.
Yeah, I think honestly, I think they're saving Osprey maybe for All In at Wembley
Maybe, yeah.
to
But
get.
do you take the title off of Swerve then, or do you have him still hold on to it?
Yeah,
Because
because that puts him in a very tough spot. Because
yeah,
if Swerve beats Osprey in the UK, fans are gonna riot.
yeah,
If Osprey wins, it's a feel good moment. But did you cut the legs out of Swerve's title reign for a feel good moment that you don't know can be
yeah.
substantial in the long run?
And the worst part is we know how they have a bad habit of wanting those feel good moments, even in the short term.
Hmm.
So I don't like that so far. So hopefully we don't have to deal with that. I'm just gonna pretend that doesn't exist for now, because in my mind, Swerve's gonna hold the title for a while. So
Yeah, but Takeshita is a super super smart idea. I definitely like that.
I do too. So maybe someday soon.
Yeah,
Um, So we're gonna finish Mike's questions with where do we come out on Triple H's comments in the Backlash presser about credible news sources, and also the different ways Sean Ross Sapp and Mike Johnson reported. In my opinion, or in Mike's opinion, Johnson remained professional, but Sapp didn't have such a good look. I feel like it can give Sean a little bit of a pass because I think he's been dealing with a lot of like personal issues.
yeah,
So
yeah. Unfortunately, his grandmother passed away, and his grandmother was like a big big part of his life.
yeah, so I think he gets a little bit of a pass, and also poor guy was just like not even covering Backlash, I think, when all this happened. But
Yeah,
I feel like I can understand that Triple H's words are definitely not the best. He definitely could have worded it differently,
yeah,
but I could also see his side of it where it's like we just had this great match, like this great pay-per-view, premium live event, probably one of the best crowds of all time. We're riding a high. We just announced where WrestleMania is going to be, even though it wasn't. I completely missed it. I had to see it on Twitter. I had to watch this. I was trying to watch the stupid Kentucky Derby for it and didn't even see it. But anyway, and the last question you asked me is about something that is so inconsequential and just not an issue that if I were Triple H, I would have been like, "Are you serious right now? Like,
Yeah,
this is what you're gonna ask?" Like,
yeah.
yeah,
I mean, it's just tough because society is in a place where, like, like everybody wants, like, everybody thinks they deserve an answer. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah, and they
Every
don't.
if Triple H just wanted to keep it about the PLE and the success of the PLE, and he no commented his way through all the questions about, like, this particular situation, he would get crucified in this day and
Yeah,
age, because,
yeah,
like, again, when it comes to situations like this, I just feel like sometimes people that are not even in this situation feel like they need answers, you know?
yeah, and you
They,
don't always deserve them.
yeah, it's like they need answers. They need to know what's going
Yeah,
on, and if they don't get the answers, Triple H is the worst person in the world.
yeah,
He's like
he's hiding
yeah,
something.
he's allowing these things to happen, and I just never operated like that. Like,
No, I don't care enough
yeah,
to
yeah,
know what's going on with Drew Gulak of all people. Like, I don't
yeah,
care that much.
yeah, like that situation, and what's going on with Drew Gulak now, it sucks because um every interaction I've ever had with Drew Gulak was a positive one.
Yeah,
And there was a point before he went to WWE where, like, I would go to CZW shows and he would approach me. And as a
no,
wrestling fan, like, how cool is that to have, like, somebody like him, come to you and ask you how you doing and say, "Hey, thanks for coming out to the show." So
yeah,
when you hear these things about Drew Gulak, it bums me out because I thought positively of this guy, and then I feel bad for the people that have to deal with the trauma that he imparted on them.
yeah,
So, but, like, again, it's just like, why I don't understand the nature of people constantly feeling like they need answers in situations that don't apply to them. The answers will
yeah.
eventually come out either way. you
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
you
Like
know?
the you don't always need that instant answer. It's
Right.
like not gonna affect your life one way or another. At least it shouldn't.
Right, right, and it would have came out either way that they're just not going to renew his contract. He wasn't fired. They're just sitting at home and paying him to write out his contract.
Yeah,
That eventually would have came out. It's just, it's like we look for answers so we could take moral victory laps, and we've gotten to the point where, like, the answers we get are just not good enough now. You know?
yeah, exactly.
It's just not good enough now. I don't get it. That's not how I operate.
No.
As pertaining to the question that Mike asked, I under like you said, I understand where Sean Ross Sapp is coming from. Like you said, he had at the particular time he had a lot of personal stuff going on, but Sean does deal with a lot of bullshit. You know,
Some of the stuff he deals with, like I even just saw today that did you see that one tweet he had about like the DM he got about the guy like threatening him at SummerSlam?
yeah, yeah.
It's just like, what the fuck is wrong with you people?
Yeah,
Like,
you people are very, very, very fucking weird. Just so you
yeah,
know. Sean deals with a lot of bullshit. And the thing is, Sean, for some reason, everybody thinks because he's the face of Fightful that he runs Fightful.
no,
He's just one of their top tier uh creators on the
yeah,
show. He's not even
yeah,
he's not a journalist, and I don't know what Mike Johnson's credentials are, but haven't heard of a person who covers professional wrestling that went to college and has a journalism degree besides Dave Meltzer.
yeah.
I believe this is just me off the top of my head,
Hmm.
uh, thinking if I remember, Dave has actual collegiate credentials in journalism. So it's
Yeah,
just like he says himself he's not a journalist. He just covers it the way he covers it. Fightful just has a way of covering professional wrestling in a way that makes what they do seem important. You know,
Yeah,
they talk about backstage situations, contract situations. For certain people that's interesting, and they do it very well. They're very well written people that work there. Their podcasts are great. They have multiple podcasts. So he deals with a lot of shit, and he's just the top basically employee that
yeah,
Fightful has. In terms of Mike Johnson, my route would have probably been more Johnson's route, which was he's like, despite what Triple H said, I still am enjoying the WWE product. The Backlash PLA was great, and we're
yeah,
going to continue to cover pro wrestling the way we always have. So I
yeah.
don't take offense to any of his, comments because, again, that's kind of counterproductive if you think about it.
Well, Triple H ended up apologizing too, so
Yeah, but again, for people that are not involved in the situation,
yep.
that probably wasn't good enough,
I
you
mean, it's
know?
never. I mean, it's never enough. It's like, do you want the guy to resign while you're at
Yeah,
it?
yeah, like,
Like,
unless he would've went out there to start Monday Night Raw and said, "Hey, I said some really fucked up things about Sean Ross Sapp and Mike Johnson's, credibility. I'm sorry." If that would be the
it,
only way
it was so
people.
that would be weird.
Yeah, it would be weird because, again, it doesn't involve us.
No, it really
Whatever,
doesn't.
yeah, whatever happened to just minding your own business?
No, people can't do that anymore.
Just
No.
mind your own business. And if you have a negative opinion or a negative take about something, weigh the pros and cons. Like, is your opinion gonna certainly, like, without a doubt, set the world on fire, or is it basically like an evergreen tweet that everybody is repeating?
Yeah.
Like, we get it.
Mhm.
Vince McMahon was the guy in charge of WWE for 40 years, and for 40 years he was a demonic, evil, deplorable, disgusting human being that trickled
Yeah.
down into his corporate affairs. We get it.
It's
We
like,
we
stop
understand.
being a horse.
Yeah, it's like we understand, and we understand that 40 years of that deplorable behavior is just not going to go away at the drop of a hat overnight. But at what point do we say, hey, they're trying? They got rid of the guy who basically built this fucking thing and
Yeah.
said, you gotta go, you're out of here. And they're starting to move pieces where they're getting rid of the people that brought it down. At what point do we stop with the pitchforks just so we can get our social media numbers up? It's just ridiculous.
It really is. It's just people need to relax.
It's just crazy. I just want to watch wrestling. I enjoy WWE. I enjoy AEW. End of
Yeah.
story.
Yeah. Good. I can't add any more to that. You're right. Alrighty, so that's all of Mike's questions. So thank you as always.
Thanks, Mike.
Let us move on to Jax, and he's just trying to get me all riled up. Did we really need to bump two matches to live events for CM Punk to tell us he hates Drew again? I get the Punk's a draw, but that TV dime could help those other wrestlers become draw themselves. Yeah, don't I know it? Because I know which one of them was bumped to a live event, and I'm really fucking pissed about it. But yeah, I mean, I agree.
Yeah.
And there's not much more I can say other than I agree, and I'm mad because one of the wrestlers that I love more than life itself sometimes was in one of those matches that now, I mean, and it is only, oh, I don't know, like your big tournament to crown the queen of the ring and the king of the ring. And did, big, you guys made a big deal out of it. And now you're like, oh, well, two of those matches are going to be on live events. It's like, way to just, I mean, on the outside looking in, I'm sure there's like actual reasons, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But that does seem like a slap in the face of those four wrestlers that you just threw from live national TV to a live event that no one's gonna see. Like,
Yeah.
really? I didn't like it. It annoyed me, but clearly there was an answer for it or an explanation for it. I just don't understand it because I would think if you are having a tournament that is going to be finished on a pay-per-view event, you would want all of those matches in that tournament to be available for everyone to see.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Which
don't get
I
it.
think they'll maybe, hopefully, I think the smart thing would do, just like, since we didn't get to see those matches, and they always have cameras running at live events anyway, that
Yeah.
they give us the full match on YouTube or something like that. Um,
I hope.
yeah,
Like, I'm gonna have to end up looking at Twitter anyway to see what happens,
yeah,
but
yeah. I mean, I kind honestly, I saw it coming. I was like, this is a lot of matches on Raw, and not only that, each match looked very, very good. So it's
yeah,
not
like
like they're gonna be able to WWE speed it. These
yeah, because
matches.
Zelina and Shayna can be like a sneaky good match.
Yeah,
Like, well, what is the Kofi and Mysterio?
Kofi
Like,
and
come
Mysterio got
on.
bumped. But again, I kind of saw. I was like, "There's no way. There's no way they're gonna put. The only way they'll pull this off is there's no promos, no vignettes, no nothing, no angle setups, nothing. It's just match, 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 match.
Which didn't happen.
Which didn't happen. And again, I see both sides. The Punk thing probably wasn't a good idea. But ratings wise, eyes on the product, uh, advertisement, stuff like that, USA Network's going to want to see Punk if Punk's available. If not, they're definitely hitting up their contacts at WWE like, what the hell are you guys doing? This guy was literally in the same state, locked in your headquarters, and you don't have him on the
Yeah.
show to give us a couple extra eyes. So I get it, but and it was just weird too, because you think about it too. Not a lot of people talk. Oh, well, a couple people are talking about it. How weird and misplaced that Becky Lynch in ring promo segment was.
Yeah, that was really weird.
That was weird. And the one thing I noted was it's on a weird place on the show in terms of time
Mhm.
wise. Like,
Yeah.
why would they put it so close to overlapping into the 10 o'clock hour?
Yeah.
And the
It was
quality
weird.
of it was stupid. Like, why are we talking about the Kentucky Derby? I get it. They made the announcement, but like, I've never tuned into any horse races or anything like that. Like, that
Yeah.
shit does not interest me whatsoever.
I can confirm it was very boring because we tried to watch it to see the announcement for WrestleMania, and it turns out, well, because it said on Peacock and on NBC, so we were watching Backlash, so we were just like, oh, we'll just keep it on Peacock on my PlayStation,
Mhm.
and so we're waiting and we're waiting and we're waiting and we're waiting. We don't see it, and then all of a sudden I see it on fucking Twitter. I'm like, we literally could have just not. So I don't know when they announced it because we literally didn't move from the couch. Would have paid attention if we saw something different. So I don't know when they did it,
Yeah.
but it was not. It was boring.
Yeah,
It was boring.
it's just like, I don't care about these famous people and their stupid outfits. I don't care about these horses. I don't care
Yeah,
about none of that. Like,
none of the money.
I
Not even the
I
money.
get it from a business perspective why they would
But
do that, but like, even then
mm,
I was like, I'm not going to watch that. I'll see what happens. A million different people are going to post it on Twitter, and that's exactly what happened. You know,
yeah,
it's a it's a
it's
million
just a
people
shame.
just telling everybody, "Hey, I'm going to Vegas. Are you going?" Of course they're going. Everybody's
Yeah,
going. The whole world is going to be in Vegas for that weekend.
yeah. It's just
And it's Easter weekend.
yeah.
Oy.
Which could I care less if it's Easter
I
weekend?
mean, I
No.
don't either, but it's like, it's Easter weekend. It's in
Mm,
Vegas. 420 on Sunday. There's a
yeah.
lot of potential for
Chaos.
chaos and adult debauchery to
Yeah.
happen, because it's
Yeah.
all of that, and then it's in Vegas. You know,
Yeah, of all places.
it's in Vegas, so it's just like every year I'm like, yeah, I want to make it to WrestleMania. I'm gonna save up money, and then I'm like, well, this is Vegas, so like,
Yeah.
my save up money has to save up money
Yeah.
to afford it.
Vegas is never cheap in general, and now throw WrestleMania on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah.
don't, and the from a business perspective, WWE's hot. Supply and demand.
Mhm.
Everybody wants the WWE product, and that's a big thing too that they're talking about it now. It's like, no slight to AEW, but
Yeah.
AEW has to go to these places and offer their product and pay for it to happen. these venues, these tourist venues, and not only that, but whole governments are
Yeah.
beating down the door to get WWE in their area. I mean, to the point where like Minnesota was like clearly dejected they didn't get WrestleMania this year. Yeah.
Poor poor Minnesota. Just
Minnesota. But I mean, who wants to go to Minnesota in the middle of April? I
I
mean,
mean, granted, it would have been cheaper, but
yeah, but I
less
mean,
exciting.
yeah, less exciting. Vegas just sounds cool. It sounds
It's
like
just
a
Vegas.
bad idea, but it sounds very cool.
It's Vegas. Like, what do you want?
It's Vegas.
So we touched on this a little bit, but France finally made main event Jey Uso feel main event. I hope the renewed momentum can carry him. That entrance was just
It's special.
insane.
It was,
That was wild.
it's special. That's the whole time I'm watching it, I'm just like, this is crazy. This
Yeah.
is insane. I've never seen anything like it. Um Jey Uso in particular, man, it's just this guy. It's tough because again, the roster's on fire, the product's on fire,
Yeah.
everybody's clicking on all cylinders, and it's just like you don't want to sacrifice one guy for the success of the other guy. You got to make it work. So
Yeah.
I can see why Jay didn't get the win at Backlash, but his time's coming. The problem is like what I said. It just seems like his whole deal is main event Jey Uso. And when he gets the chance to do stuff like that with matches that he has, like with Damian Priest and stuff, he can shine. It's just
Oh yeah.
for so long he's been stuck in that middle of the road mid card. And the thing is, like, everybody has a negative connotation when you say mid card in wrestling,
Hmm.
but without a solid mid card to keep people engaged, you have nothing.
Yeah.
You don't have anticipation for the main event. You don't have anticipation what can come from your bottom end of the card. So you need a solid mid card. It's just if we're crowning him as main event Jey Uso, he needs to have main event opponents. He needs to have. I would love to see matches with Gunther.
Yeah.
I would love to see situations where like seeds are planted that he might go after Cody Rhodes.
Ooh.
Even though him and Cody are very tight, he still wants to be a world champion. So like maybe if he can go over to SmackDown, if there's a trade that happens, he can
Yeah.
take on Cody Rhodes. Like put him on the upper echelon and not just Drew McIntyre. Like we get the Drew McIntyre situation, but he needs to have those actual main events and then he could take off. Again, I equate him to Booker T in WCW at the late stages when they finally realized like Booker T's the guy. He's the people's
Yeah.
guy,
Yeah.
and Jay's the people's guy. He's got main crossover appeal. You see them doing the yeet thing at basketball games now.
Yeah.
He's adopted the Fireflies into the entrance and he
Yeah.
recognizes that, his post, saying Bray was there with him was really cool, you know?
Yeah. I like that one. That
Yeah,
made me smile.
like it's just like he's cool. He's gonna go down as like, damn, like he was a cool wrestler, broke out of the tag teams. I mean, there's seeds planted that he might go back with his brother, which is gonna be
Yeah.
great. The addition of Tongaloa,
Ooh,
Paul Heyman looked
wild.
like he's been held hostage and he's looking at Jay like,
The poor
please
guy.
save me, and like Jay's conflicted. So it's like Jay's fine. Jay's
Yeah.
fine.
He'll be fine.
Yeah, he's fine.
Um, imagine if Kevin Dunn wasn't in charge of production for the last 30 years. God, the possibilities we could have had.
It's
Like,
just upsetting because you see a person that was there at the company for so long and you just see that they coasted, you know.
oh yeah.
They collected a paycheck.
Yeah, well, along with 5,000 camera cuts of an entrance,
It was
but
just like
God.
oh, like, and it's if you think about it, the stuff they're doing now with the production is not really like groundbreaking shit. It's groundbreaking for us because
Yeah.
we hadn't seen it for like the past 35 years, but like,
which is sad,
yeah,
which is very sad that it's
yeah,
just like this simple little thing, we were just like, "We could have had this all along."
yeah, like other people that are probably hip to productions of sporting events are like, yeah, this is like, we have 4K cameras now, even 8K.
Yeah.
It's, like, like, so it's like, but for us as fans, it's like, you know, the really cool, it's almost like there's one cool shot every week. And the one cool shot this week on Monday Night Raw was Drew McIntyre hops in a pretty dope car, pulls off in the arena, and then CM Punk follows him right behind him with an even doper looking car. And he's
Yeah.
like, "Where's Drew McIntyre?" And he's like, "Well, he just fucking took off. You missed him by like 3 seconds,
Yeah.
And it's all one continuous shot. He gets out of the car, walks through Gorilla, walks to the arena where the crowd is. Like, it's just, to any other camera TV production aficionado, this is normal stuff. But for us
Yeah.
wrestling fans, we're like, it's a whole new world.
Yeah. It's just it makes you shake your head where it's just like, this is literally the simplest shit imaginable, and it's just like the best thing in the world to us because we've been used to whiplash for
Yeah.
30 something years.
Yeah, remember that, I always think about that clip of, they show Seth Rollins with the chair,
Yeah.
and he's beating down, I believe it was Drew McIntyre, and you see the cameraman just up and down like
Yeah.
it's seasickening.
God. Those poor camera I mean, those camera people probably have the best cardio in the world now, though.
Oh my
Like,
god.
could you imagine? I don't know how they didn't pass out half the time doing all that shit.
Crazy.
But either way, it's best that he's just not here
Yeah,
anymore.
he just,
We're
like, and, like, some of the opinions that he had, and the fact that there was so much stock, from upper management in his opinions on other people's appearances,
yeah, it's
women's
like
appearances, like, "Look at this
look,
guy,"
yeah, coming from him of all people,
Yeah,
like,
look at this
please.
guy, and this guy's gonna be the judge of, attractiveness of a woman?
Yeah,
This
it's like,
guy
shut up.
here? This is the guy you want, of all people? Like,
Yeah, it's like, shut up.
yeah,
Please stop talking.
yeah, this guy was bad news, like, this company. Oh my god.
Yeah. It's thank God we don't have to deal with that
Yeah,
anymore. Does Samoa Joe have the best squash matches in wrestling? Yeah, I'd say so.
and
Because it's just like he doesn't even try. He's just like, yeah, come on, get a load of this guy. Like,
it honestly
whatever.
feels like every match Joe's in has the potential to be a squash match.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
I think that's why, people look at it that way. Like, any opponent, no matter, he can have a match against Swerve, and you're like, "Oh, this might be one-sided." I mean, you put him in
Yeah.
there with Dustin Rhodes, and you're like, "Oh, shit, it's gonna be a rough night for Dustin," you know?
Literally.
Yeah, so, like, he's just a master at understanding the Samoa Joe character, understanding what people like to see. They like to see a dude that knows he's a badass, knows that he can mess people up, but won't do it unless you give him a reason to. And if you
Yeah.
give him a reason to, that's the stupidest thing you can do in your life. He makes professional wrestling real, you know?
Yeah. Exactly.
Some
He brings the danger.
Yeah, Samoa Joe is real.
Samoa Joe is real. That sounds like such a wild like sentence to people that don't understand what we were talking about. Like Samoa Joe is real.
Yeah, like, and the thing is, like, if you say that to any non-wrestling fans, they'd be like, "Okay," and then if you
He'd
say
be
it
like,
to
yeah,
wrestling
okay.
fans, they're like, "Yeah, I totally agree. He's
Yeah.
real."
It's oh, wrestling out of context is not fun to explain.
It's not. It makes us look like psychopaths.
Yeah, it really does though, especially some of the merch.
Oh
Like
my god.
we're not getting into that. We're not going to get into that too much. That's a whole episode of itself again. Jack thinks that Willow versus Mercedes could become AEW's Bailey versus Sasha's NXT feud. I mean, it could.
I
It could.
mean I
It
mean,
could.
anything can happen at this point. That's a
And
bold claim because
I mean, but before we flame anybody, before we agree or disagree, I'll say let's see what happens at Double or Nothing,
yeah, yeah.
and we'll put a pin in this and come back to it and be like, you know what? Jack was onto
Yeah,
something.
yeah, I hope so. Like, I'm not gonna actively root for a match to suck. I wish every match had that, capability, but that's the thing. I think my reaction to it is more that match, was special.
Yeah.
The which one was it? Was because there were 2. There were there was the Iron Man match, but I think the Iron Man match was 2nd, correct?
No, yeah, that was Takeover Respect, Takeover Brooklyn.
Yeah, Takeover Brooklyn was the one where I
Yeah.
went,
Wow.
"Oh shit, like the game done changed." You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I thought that from NXT from the jump when they had I believe it was either Paige versus I want to say Natty or Charlotte or Natty versus Charlotte. One of
It
the
was for the, like, the inaugural title, it was, I
yeah,
think, Natty and Charlotte.
yeah, it was like that one where I was like, okay, they're about to do some stuff for women's wrestling. But then when that match came at Brooklyn between Bailey and Sasha, I was just
Yeah.
my God, like this is something on a whole different level. And like you said, it's no disrespect to Willow or Mercedes. I just think a lot of that had to do with, and this is the buzzword, story, you know?
Yeah.
It had a lot to do with story. The character of Bailey, being the positive person, but being chastised and being someone criticized for not always getting the job done. And then you have Sasha, who's the ultimate antagonizer who can
Yeah.
get under your skin. It was just it was great. I feel with Mercedes, I don't want to say they fumbled or dropped the ball. It's just the idea that she's been signed since January, I believe. And
March, yeah, January,
yeah,
March.
and then you debut her in the towards the end of March, but she can't have her first match until the end of May.
Yeah.
That that is a decision, you know. Um
Yeah, it's yeah.
I mean, I broke it down plenty of times, but in my view, if they would have done big business, the show event as a way to build up anticipation for Double or Nothing, if they would have did it 3 weeks before Double or Nothing, it doesn't matter the venue. Okay, she's from Boston, but you could have put it in Tupelo. You know, you could have put it in Biloxi,
Yeah.
Mississippi, and that place would have still sold out on the name of Mercedes Martinez. And you're telling me that we only have to wait 3 weeks for her to wrestle instead of 4 or 5 months, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you march her out to do the one thing that is the weakest part of her game, which is to be on the microphone. What
Mhm.
are we doing here? You know?
Yeah,
Be-
we know.
because she's gonna come out in Double or Nothing. Where if you would have did it 3 weeks before the event, when she comes out of Double or Nothing, it's a big time deal. When she comes out, yeah, it's big, but like we've been seeing her, we're kind of accustomed to see how she walks out on the stage, how she poses, her music, how they're gonna present her with any pyro, anything like that. Like that
Yeah.
aura is already being juiced up,
Yeah.
you know?
Exactly. It's just a dumb way to debut
Yeah.
her. I feel bad.
I feel bad, but yeah, again, I hope the match is spectacular. I hope the match steals the show.
I hope so. Honestly, I feel like they could. I think they could. I think they can rise to the occasion because we know if any woman could rise to the occasion in this kind of high pressure kind of situation, it would be Mercedes.
Yeah, I agree, and
And Willow's no slouch either. She could do it too.
yeah, I think it's gonna go good, and we could just hope that nothing happens like their match for New Japan, where unfortunately Mercedes got hurt.
Yeah, let's not do that again, please.
Yeah,
We don't need that again. Kenny and Okada being in the same ring again gave Jack goosebumps. Yeah, you're telling me, like, and it's a sad thing. We won't see that again for quite some time because I think if I heard correctly, Kenny's still not. He still hasn't had the diverticulitis surgery yet. I don't think.
yeah, yeah. He hasn't had it, and this is what I was trying to explain when watching the show is the colostomy bag situation. I
Yeah.
had my grandfather for many years of my life had to wear a colostomy bag because of colon cancer. So I
Mhm.
know the detriment of how that situation could be. They basically want him to have the colostomy bag, but they don't know if maybe 6 months down the road, 3 months down to the road, or a couple years that they can actually remove the colostomy bag.
Mhm.
So that's the main thing. He wanted to push through that, but they told him if you push through that, you're basically you have a ticking time bomb in your stomach. And
Yeah.
if something was to happen, we're gonna have to put the colostomy bag in anyway.
Yeah.
So the best course of action is to just do it, get it over with, do the rehab and try to get better, and then hopefully he can have it removed. Um that's why the angle on Dynamite and flowing into Rampage, it was spectacular. It was fantastic. It did what it needed to be done in terms of the mission, but it was so dangerous and so risky, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost just like, do we really need to I get why we need to do this, but is this really such a good idea?
Yeah,
But
yeah, because the thing is with the diverticulitis, his intestines and all that stuff, the linings and everything, it's basically like a thin sheet of paper. You
yeah.
know, any sort
Mhm.
of blow, any sort of misplaced attack to that area can perforate those intestines, the lining of those intestines, and then he bleeds out internally, and there goes Kenny Omega. You
Yeah,
know,
we don't and that's oof, god,
yeah,
that's
so
no thanks.
that's like that's why like watching this, like I posted the clip of me, when Jack hit him in the stomach with the chair. He did the back end into the gut, and I was just like, "Oh my god, no." Like
And you're like, "Please, can we not witness a murder live on
yeah,
television? Please and
yeah,
thank
because
you."
that was insane. That was insane. But again, I get it, and because of it, it was like, okay, this situation with the elite and this storyline, they're 2 for 2 now. You know,
Yeah.
the attack on Tony Khan, great, perfect way to set it off. Remember, he had the same question last week about the follow-up and the follow-through. The
Yeah.
follow-up with the attack on Kenny, home run, knocked it out of the park. you
Yep.
you add a little wrinkle with FTR, you keep that going, because obviously Kenny can't do any of the heavy lifting in terms of the angle and the storyline and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
it's a good way to add a little wrinkle. So again, it's just you want to see that momentum keep going and keep going and keep going. And it's one of those things that at least for the summertime, we can look back and say, AEW did some really, really good stuff here, really believable, edgy, sort of different from, the actual alternative. A lot of all the positive things we want to say about AEW can come from this angle, depending on how creative they are.
Exactly, gotta keep it going.
Got to keep it going.
Sticking with AEW, our thoughts on Camille signing with AEW and what role do you think that we think she should have? Jack thinks she could be a good heater for Mercedes, and imagine them going against Britt and Jamie down the line.
Mm,
Literally, as soon as I saw the questions, before I could even finish the rest of like what his idea was, that was literally the first thing I thought of. No lie, was she could be someone like Mercedes, like the Jamie to Brit,
yeah, yeah.
essentially. Like you could be the heavy, you could be the the muscle, the
Hmm.
I can talk a shit about you, but you try to come at me, she's gonna get right in between us, and like the whole chicken shit thing.
Yeah,
That would be fun because Camille, they could use some more powerhouses in that division. I would also, like them to use the powerhouses they have, but
yeah.
when one's hurt, and I don't know why they're not using Nyla right now, but they're gonna be as good as mine. But yeah, Camille being with AEW is going to be a wild time, and I do kind of actually want to see what Jack said. I want to see like her become Mercedes like muscle,
That's
and then eventually go with Britt and Jamie. That would be insane.
Yeah, that's actually a brilliant, brilliant idea because you can actually visualize Mercedes and Camille together. Camille doing that expressionless face, and Mercedes being the one to like yoke up all the adulation or lack thereof from the crowd and stuff like that. So you
Yeah,
definitely see it. With Camille, she's such a solid professional wrestler. I mean, the bulk of her work that got her to AEW came from NWA, current day
Mhm.
NWA, and she was the women's champion for like 700 plus days or something like that.
Yeah.
So when it comes to pro wrestling, she has all the tangibles, all the makeup of a great, solid professional wrestler. Problem is AW in particular has a lot of those types. They
Yeah.
have now they have Kamille, but they also have Serena Deep, who also is kind of like Deonna Purrazzo.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of these technically proficient um wrestlers in the women's division, but then you look at Camille and you go, okay, well, we can lean on the powerhouse side. But
Yeah.
they have a lot of powerhouse based women's wrestlers. They have it in Statlander. They have it
Mhm.
in a way Willow Nightingale. So the only way where she can really set herself apart is probably latching herself onto something like Mercedes, because that would actually give her depth. Can you imagine Mercedes becoming even more arrogant, even more cockier, simply because she has an enforcer like Kamille Brickhouse, who
Yeah.
is expressionless. You can't tell if she's happy, sad, angry, none of that. She just knows that when she's told to take somebody out, she's gonna take them out.
Yeah.
So it's a wonderful, wonderful idea. And it's just because again, I'm visualizing both of them coming out at the same time, and it just works. It just works.
Right. Jack's just coming up with these good
Yeah.
ideas lately.
It
I mean, he always has, but he's been on fire lately with these ideas.
Yeah, it really reminds me of like old school Shawn Michaels when he brought Big Daddy Cool Diesel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's basically that. There it is. There's a lot of things in wrestling right now that would feel like throwbacks. If you pair those two up, you get like the old school Shawn and Big Daddy Cool Diesel. I even
Yeah.
said during Backlash, to me, Bianca and Jade are like Mega Powers 2.0.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
two of the best in a team. Just they look like they're dominating. So it's a
Yeah.
lot of like old school stuff is happening, and that's because there's so much focus on women's wrestling right now.
Yeah. It really is, and I'm glad that we're finally getting it because God knows we waited a long time for it. So I'm glad that we're in the, as we always like to say, the golden age. I don't like to throw it around a lot, but it's the truth though.
Yeah, definitely.
And Jack's last comment is glad to see wrestling fans rising above the tribalism to come together and believe in Joe Hendry. I I can confirm. I know he asked earlier in the week or last week. I did listen to the song, and I can confirm that is a very catchy song.
It is.
It has no business being that catchy.
It's something I've randomly just belted it out like
Yeah,
just randomly it's
yeah.
just what a song, Joe Hendry. And now
It's
he's
bad.
talking about purchasing ad space from the Spear
Oh
in
God,
Vegas.
could you imagine?
Oh my god. I mean, that's doing pro wrestling right.
Yeah,
It's just figuring out your strong suit, capitalizing on it, and then seeing sort of outside of wrestling success.
yeah,
At one point, this dude was on the iTunes chart in the UK, number one over Taylor
yeah.
Swift.
Yeah, like that's no like small feat. Like
That's crazy. I mean, it's one of those things. It kind of sucks for TNA, but he literally just put himself on the radar for AEW and WWE.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah, good for him.
Uh,
Good for him. Bad for TNA,
bad for
but
TNA, good for him because he just literally started the inquiries of when his TNA contract is up.
yep. As soon as TNA heard their phone start ringing, they're just like, God damn it.
Yeah, yeah. It's just again, like you said, good for him, bad for TNA.
At least someone comes out of that situation happy. It's just not going to be the it's just not going to be the company,
No,
but oh well. So that is all of Jack's questions and comments. So thank you as always.
thanks, Jack.
Yeah, we are going to finish with mom's. Hers, she kind of described to me yesterday as more of like some of them are more rapid fire, just kind of like talk about or just like her wanted her thoughts out. But obviously we the very first one was what we've talked about a couple times already was that the crowds in France were insane. Yeah, not just a Backlash and on SmackDown too. It was like I said, they set off somebody's like smartwatch to be like, "Hey, there's a lot of noise where you are. You might want to like protect your ears or something."
Yeah.
Like the cameras were shaking and everything. It's just it was insane.
Yeah, when they were doing the deal for AJ Styles and that middle hard cam couldn't stay steady,
No.
it was just, oh my god, what an experience. Even as a fan just watching here in the States at home, it's just like
Yeah.
this is pro wrestling. It kind of moves people,
Yeah.
it's just it moves people. It's a universal language in a sense, because I feel like you and I, they could have picked us up and said, hey, you're going to France just to chill out in the crowd, and we
Yeah.
probably would have been in there mispronouncing the chants and all that stuff,
Yeah, literally
because
like
it's a universal love, it's a universal language,
yeah.
and it's just cool that the French fan base could experience that. They could experience an important event, not just a live event or anything like that, but an actual important PLE,
Yeah.
so it
Yeah.
was just cool, and it's something that um we as Americans and people in North America can kind of look at and say, hey, it's okay if we're enjoying the product to be enthusiastic about it and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I feel like the problem is sometimes with the North American crowds is that they kind of overstep that line of making it about
right,
them, as
right,
we've talked about
right,
before. So it's like I feel like they might want to like they need to kind of find that line between bringing the energy but also not making it about them in the process. And
right,
then I
right.
feel like sometimes they don't know how to do
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
But
because like everything fell in line, like the main event, Cody and AJ.
yeah,
Cody comes out, they're singing his song to the end, even when the
yeah,
music wasn't even there. But then AJ Styles gets announced, and they recognize the importance of AJ Styles, and then you realize, this is AJ Styles, and they give him the proper respect. It's a miracle that AJ was able to no sell that, you know,
yeah,
um,
yeah, literally.
because that if I was AJ Styles, that reception probably would have broke
Oh yeah, like it was just wild and like you said Cody's like them singing the whole song even after it was over. Like I know most of the words. There's some where I'm like I'm not entirely sure what they say, but they knew all of it and I thought the WrestleMania whoa was loud. Obviously being biased, but it was loud,
me.
but that one was up there.
Yeah, that one's crazy. Kudos to the French crowd. You guys were legendary, and it's cool. Again, as a wrestling fan, I appreciate them because like they made that show a breeze. They made it a smile from ear to ear, from beginning to end. So it was like,
Yep.
thank you guys for being that enthusiastic.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Makes it fun to talk about.
Yes.
And speaking of Backlash, what was our final grade for Backlash?
Ooh, I gotta go with a solid A, right in the middle. No A
I was
minus, no A
literally gonna
plus.
say I was gonna say that too. Yeah.
Yeah, just
Yeah, brain cell working
yeah,
again.
it's just a solid
Yeah,
A in the middle, because every match was either uh good or great, and it
yeah,
was just an easy flowing pay-per-view. Again, 5 matches on the card. Everybody, including myself, was like, I don't know about this. And it was like, well, that means everybody's gonna get a lot of time. And everybody got a lot of time. And
yeah,
everybody showed up, and it was great to see Jade have the performance she had, where it made sense that like for 7 or 8 months she was just cooking in the performance center,
yeah,
and everybody is like, why isn't she wrestling? Why isn't she wrestling? Well, she wasn't wrestling yet because they wanted to make sure she could put on performances like that. like,
Like, that whole final, like,
yeah.
sequence of, like, catching Kyrie and flipping her, like, 3 times, I'm just
I
like,
I tweaked out. I was just like, I mean,
that was impressive because, like, my thing is, and I know there are some people that weren't too thrilled about it, but here's my thing. If you just take that sequence in itself and break it down, say, like, Kyrie doesn't spin the right way or doesn't, like, get up the right way and she ends up falling, or, like, Jade, quote, unquote, "drops" her.
mhm,
No one's gonna look at that and be like, "Oh, well, Kyrie didn't rotate enough, so that was actually her fault." Who are they gonna look at? The one that dropped
yeah,
her. So,
yeah. It's crazy because I broke it down because it was insane. She catches her in the power bomb position, takes her from the power bomb position into the electric chair position. From the electric chair position, she throws her up in the air, catches her in a chicken
yeah.
wing position, hoists her up, and then drops her for Jaden.
My rotator cuff screamed when she did that,
Like,
like,
do you understand the degree of difficulty, like you said? And then for her to do this move effortlessly for the second time because she did it against Sky Blue,
Sky? Yeah,
and this has become her thing to the point where, like, a friend of mine who doesn't even watch professional wrestling, she just follows me on all the accounts for support. She was just like, "Wait a second, this is not like the women's wrestling that, like, I used to remember being on TV." And I'm
yeah,
like, "No, it's vastly different in every aspect from what it was before." But it's just stuff like that. You realize Jade doing stuff like that just elevates her ability to promote WWE. That's what WWE's looking at. They're looking at,
yeah,
hey, we might have just found our next person to be on all the posters as like the single superstar, her doing all the promotional stuff, sending her out to do stuff like, I don't know, like Fashion Week or whatever like that. Like Jade's
yeah.
cut out for stuff like that.
Multifaceted
And
appeal.
she just looks great. Like, every time she pops up on my feed, I'm like, this is a real person
Yeah,
that looks like this. Like,
yeah,
like
and it's like, damn.
it's like I don't even deserve to look at you, or like, like,
Right, like,
no,
it's not fair.
it's not fair. There's no reason for it. It's unnecessary.
Damn it, like, damn it, why jealous, just
Just
jealous.
jealous.
um, Mom is also liking the way Triple H is booking storyline. She thinks he's doing a great job, which yes, of
Yeah.
course. Like, he just has a different eye for things
Yeah.
and just knows those little nuances
Yeah, he's just
more than previous people.
yeah, the that's the thing, is like, no matter what, Triple H has a connection to the fan as a wrestler and a connection to the
Mhm.
wrestlers as a wrestler. That's something that the previous regime never had and never was going to have. You
No,
know,
not even
yeah,
close.
and it's a different thing where you see the mentality of it being focusing on fan feedback, what fan there it, like, again, like we said last week, you don't want to placate to the fans and give them everything because a lot of these people have stupid ideas. But
Yes.
you want to make them at least feel like they have a say in their consuming of the entertainment. So I think Triple H gets that, because before it was just like, this is for an audience of one. This
Yeah.
is just to make
Yeah.
this person happy. Screw the fans. But it's just completely different. And again, you realize that, yes, WWE is professional wrestling, but it's different from AEW or something like that. Like, again, it's telling the stories, setting up the angles, making things look like a dramatic performance between real people and not insulting our intelligence, because we get it.
Yeah.
We get it. We know these guys don't really want to kill each other or hurt each other, and if something happens, they would feel really bad. But it's no different from watching a movie or a TV show, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, and it's also that, like, balance of enough for the casual fan to understand what's going on and enjoy it, but also for the hardcore fans to drop those little nuggets that were like, I see what you did there. Like, perfect example. the whole thing that everyone's like losing their shit over on Twitter is the purple handkerchief that was just
Yeah,
so happened to be tucked away in Liv's pocket. Like, we know what that is.
yeah,
We know what you're trying to pull here. We're not silly. Like, and I like that stuff where it's like, ah, nope, see, we caught that. Like, we're it gives us a little bit of like a like not an ego boost, but just that like little touch of serotonin where it's like, yep, nope, we call that because something happened 2 weeks ago that I had noticed, and
yeah.
some people may have, some didn't, or whatever. But yeah, I love those little Easter eggs. We talk about it all the time. That's like some of our favorite things.
Yeah, because
But
it takes a level of intelligence to place it in the right spot, but it also takes a little bit of intelligence to be like, as a viewer, wait a second, that's not
yeah,
right. What are they doing? Is this happening? Like, that's how you keep everybody engaged.
yeah, exactly. It's just you got to keep them, regardless of their interest level. You got to keep them all in the
Yeah.
same boat. So we like it. A stamp of approval. Um, our thoughts on Ethan Page's status. Yeah, last I heard, supposedly, was that he was looking to finish up with AEW and Ring of Honor, and I think he may have already,
Yeah.
which is really a shame because they could have done so much with him. Like, I don't get why they couldn't use him because people were getting behind him,
Mhm.
real because he was getting people behind him. Just the things he was doing online, all it was just like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Like, it's a shame
Yeah,
because I hope he has a chance somewhere else. Maybe WWE, who knows? But just I'll follow him wherever he goes because I always liked Ethan. I thought he was super cool. So
yeah.
hopefully, but still,
Yeah, I think like I said on Twitter, I said he would thrive in a place like NXT.
oh yeah,
NXT would be a perfect spot for him because even though he was in AEW, I feel like he didn't reach enough audiences like he should have. So
yeah,
he would be a veteran to like wrestling fans who are hardcore, but he would still
mhm,
be a new fresh guy to get invested into casual fans.
yes,
You know, and the casual audience is heavy in NXT, so it would have been great. He's a great promo. He's believable. You really believe that he's a really jerk of an asshole if he's a bad guy, but he also has the ability to kind of make you believe like he's a good guy too. Like he can play that babyface role. He's like he's got all the tangibles to be a solid pro for whatever promotion. So like you said, it's weird that it didn't work out in AEW. He would just do great in WWE. You know, and in any aspect because I don't know the situation with Josh Alexander, but Josh
yeah,
Alexander and him were
the North,
the North. I remember them when they were doing their PWG thing. I think they were known as Monsters Express or something like that. But the one thing I noted is like these guys are a tag team. They were pulling
yeah,
out crazy tag team maneuvers that like with precision, the timing was great. Like they were like, and they were two polar opposite. Josh was like the stocky real wrestler guy, and Ethan was like just the, you know, the prototypical kind of asshole jerk, and it
yeah,
was just perfect. So he can do everything. He could do tag team wrestling. He could do singles wrestling. He can cut a good promo. He can be a believable character. He just needs to run, you know?
yes, yeah,
He,
and maybe AEW wouldn't let him do
yeah,
that.
I don't know if they didn't let him do that so much as they just didn't have time for him.
Yeah, which is a shame considering some of the stuff they did have where it was like, really,
Yeah,
you could have done anything else.
but eventually
But
what's going to happen is in the next 5 years if AEW is still around, we will see Tony Khan maybe not be so quick to sign anybody that's a free agent just to bring them in. I think he's starting to see like you can't really have that strategy when it comes to wrestling.
no, you can't. Which it's a shame it took them that long to figure it
Yeah.
out. But yeah. So I didn't want to say this earlier because I know Mom had already talked about it on her thing. She said, Vegas, here we come in 2025. So she kind of gave it away that we're planning on going to WrestleMania 41 um because we were kind of sitting there afterwards because I think it's pretty understandable. Once you go to one, you kinda get bit by the bug,
Right.
so it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
"Well, we gotta go to another
you're bit
one," like, "Come on."
and correct me if I'm wrong, but your mom works in the travel industry or something like that?
She used to, she doesn't really do it anymore, so it
What
unfortunately wouldn't be of use, but she at least knows the tips and tricks of how to handle Vegas because me personally, I love going to, like, Orlando, Florida, because there's, like, Universal Studios, Disney, that's, like, my Vegas. That's Vegas is her, like, Disney. Like, she's been there so many times. She hasn't been there in a while, but when we were, like, trying to figure out when it was gonna be and the fact that we're like, "Okay, well, usually they announce WrestleMania 41 by now,
Yeah.
so why is it taking so long?" And I'm like, "If it's going to Vegas, do you wanna, like, tr" and she's like, "Yeah." So there you go. So we're gonna try and, figure out how we can get over there. So
Yeah, she
one way or another, we are going to be at WrestleMania 41
that's
in
crazy.
Vegas,
Your
so
mom so Vegas is like your mom's little like a vacation spot.
yeah, let's put it this way, like, when the rumor was going around that WrestleMania 41 was potentially gonna be in Vegas, I'm like, "Well, mom, now you have a reason to go to Vegas." She's like, "I don't need a reason to go to Vegas to go to Vegas." So,
You just say Vegas and she's there.
yeah, that's pretty much her, interest level in Vegas, so, it's going to be insane, like you said, like, you're just sitting there talking about it, and I'm like, "Don't I know it?"
Yeah.
It's gonna be crazy, and I will have the firsthand, reporting on the
Yeah,
scene whenever that
we're
happens.
gonna try we're gonna try and make it it's interesting now because when it dropped that they were gonna be in Vegas, I had a friend hit me up, is like, "Oh, we definitely have to go," and he's thinking I'm like, "Yeah, because of wrestling." I'm like, "Yeah, we have to go because you're really scarily good at blackjack." Yeah. So
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
I need to see that firsthand in Vegas, your blackjack skills, because we live, about a half an hour away from Atlantic City, which is like
yeah,
1% of the scale of Vegas. But like
yeah,
his ability when it comes to blackjack is so scary good. It's just
yeah,
like, where's Josh? Oh, he's over at Bally's playing blackjack and taking all their money. So I want to see him do that in
yeah,
Vegas and the wrestling, obviously.
yeah, my parents seem to be good at let it ride. We haven't been to the casino in a while 'cause it's kinda like you kinda have to be in the mood to go to the casino, at least we
Yeah.
do, but, I at least know the general ins and outs of of blackjack, but they love let it ride, and I'm like, "I have no idea what's going on here. I'm just gonna watch and you 2 have fun." But, yeah. Well, and there's a bunch of stuff in Vegas that I wanna see. I wanna see the punk rock museum. I wanna see Counts Customs, like the car shop. Apparently too, there's also a place in Vegas that's, like, called The Claw, and it's literally you get coins to just stuff an entire bag of just stuffed animals you get out of a claw machine. So I'm like, I kinda wanna do that, so we're already planning.
See,
It's in the
it's in the
works,
works.
so
They're about to have a ball. You're gonna see like a wrestling version of The Hangover.
yeah, literally, it's literally gonna be it. I gotta save up my PTO for it. My PTO is still recovering from from WrestleMania in the last few, months,
No
but
days off for you.
not lately, unfortunately. We'll have to save that up for later in the year for SummerSlam, but we'll get there. We'll get there eventually. Um, so the new bloodline with Solo as the leader is wow. Yeah, you could say that. Poor Paul Heyman. I feel so bad for the guy. He's just being held hostage
Yeah.
at this point.
Yeah, he's definitely being held hostage. Tongaloa, I had no idea Tongaloa was even on.
Not at all.
I apparently his deal came together at the same time as Tamatonga.
Yep.
They just delayed it a couple weeks. Um, I really have no sort of opinion on Tongaloa. His New Japan stuff is pretty funny because like for any other person, you're like, wait, this guy WWE gave him another contract? Like, yeah, like,
Yeah.
but you never know. You never know what's gonna happen with the way WWE is going. They have the amazing ability right now to turn chicken shit into chicken salad. So
Yeah.
I'm just letting it ride basically. We're still waiting Jacob Fatu, see what side he's going to end up on. You saw
Mhm.
that there's a little bit of rumblings of maybe they're going to incorporate Sammy back into the OG bloodline, you know,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah, well, that it your thing might come true.
yeah,
You're gonna feel very vindicated in a couple months, I
I
have a feeling.
if that happens, man, that's going to because again, I've always said the bloodline storyline is what got people back into wrestling, that were just kind of
Yeah.
mindlessly watching it as background noise and stuff like that. Now they're paying attention. And
Mhm.
it really kind of kicked off around the time Sami Zayn was the honorary ooh stuff and him trying to get into the group and Jay not feeling it and everybody's like, what's wrong with you? Like it was all good stuff.
Yeah.
So to go and that be a full circle moment because we know Sammy's such a good guy that he may have some trepidation, but ultimately Sammy's gonna show up for the OG bloodline and I just want to see, the relief on Paul Heyman's face.
I just want this all to happen, so whenever we inevitably have to talk about it, I'm just gonna, like, sit there and be like, "Yeah, hi, I'm here too," and then I'm gonna set the microphone down and be like, "Alright, Eric,
I was just
this is all
I'm
yours."
just gonna sit there and let everybody know, like, we're back. Like before we
Yeah,
were back, but now we're back,
now we're really
Yeah,
back.
now we're back. So like if they want to set the world on fire, man, you gotta go. Like Sammy in the bloodline was peak bloodline.
Oh, yeah.
Peak
Oh,
bloodline
yeah.
without a that war games and the ending to war games where Jay is finally like, okay, you're definitely one of us. That's why you need that drama of storytelling. That's why
Yeah,
storytelling is important. We can all laugh at it and use it to be tribalistic against AEW, but it doesn't have to be that way, you know?
yeah,
But
exactly.
we see why it's important because without those little seeds planted, those little angles, and I don't give a damn what the tribal chief says, all that stuff, those moments that there wasn't any wrestling, those added to the wrestling. Like it's just
Yep,
it-
exactly.
it's entertainment, baby.
It's we love the long payoff when
Yeah,
it comes to these stories,
yeah.
and I honestly, we are gonna get it with this bloodline, with the storyline. We're gonna get it.
I hope so.
God, I hope. And finally, I mom did this just to placate to me, but she wanted to say happy birthday to Dakota Kai because her birthday was technically, well, as of this recording being released 2 days ago, but the 6th.
Mm.
So happy birthday to the king. I'm so sorry that you had to end up losing on your birthday,
Yeah,
but
that match was so good though.
that
That
stomp,
stomp is
I
gonna be that stomp was played like crazy. Kudos to Lyra for like rebounding after that
dying.
because like Dakota went up high. She said, "Happy birthday to me," and just
Like, just give this woman a title or money in a bank, something, please, I'm begging you. Like, that's gonna be my vindication. Your vindication is gonna be the bloodline. My vindication is gonna be if something good happens to Dakota
I,
this year. Like,
I think it's gonna happen because I feel like
it has to.
she's coming into her own. Um, like it's finally the peak of who Dakota Kai is supposed to be. Like, remember when she first came to WWE, still
Yeah.
had that little bit of Evie in her, and
Yeah.
then we saw the brilliance of her when she turned on Tegan Knox,
Yep.
and now that she's basically the de facto leader of Damage Control, you see that confidence in her, that she can be someone to carry a division, and
Mhm.
it's crazy. I didn't know she was 36. I'm like, yo, this girl's closer
Yeah.
to my age than anybody right now. And it's just like
Mhm.
she almost looks ageless, like
Yeah. She really
she could
does.
really do
It's
this stuff to like she's 50 if she wanted to.
Yeah, she could, honestly. And I think the thing that will help her is that she was a Triple H girl in NXT.
Hmm.
Like Triple H believed in her in NXT, so that's why I still have some hope for Shayna as well on the main roster at some point. I would like to think she could beat Zelina.
Oh
Would
yeah.
I be mad if would I be mad if she loses to Zelina? I mean a little bit, but it's I like Zelina, but I would prefer Shayna to win only to run right into Io Sky in the next round. So
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's the same thing I was thinking too, is like they could set that up where it's Damage Control versus Damage Control.
however, though, my thing could be since Shayna, like I said, if Shayna beats Zelina, she has to go on to beat or to go against Io. everyone's going to assume, again, this is just me fantasy booking. This is our last thing for tonight, is me fantasy booking this whole thing. So Dakota obviously loses, which I'm like, sure, because either, regardless if it was her or Asuka, they were always going to lose to Lyra, I think. So from what I saw in the bracket, at least, whoever wins from Zelina and Shayna goes on to face Io, which I'm like, fucking fantastic. This is just great. But my thing is that I kind of thought for a minute, and I'm like, what if Becky cost Io that match against whoever it would be? I would prefer Shayna, but if it's Zelina, whatever. Because they did go after her on Raw. So what would be the ultimate like slap in the face or like revenge for Becky? Maybe not ultimate, but just some revenge. Cost Damage Control a chance at Queen of the Ring, because I don't think Kyrie's in it. If I remember correctly, I don't think she
No, I
is.
don't think so either.
So Io would be the only Damage Control member standing in that tournament, and goes up against her and Shayna. Of course, everyone's writing Shayna off or Zelina, either or. I'll be partial. Whoever it is, they're just gonna be like, oh yeah, come on, Io's gonna kill them. Like that's an automatic trip to the semifinals. What if Becky shows up and costs her the match?
Yeah,
I hope.
that could be something.
Because if you want to get them involved with, or Becky involved with Damage Control and vice versa, then that would be quite a way to do it. So
Interesting.
that's just me hoping that Shayna doesn't lose at
Yeah,
all.
that's
But
tough because, but I mean, it could. I feel like
it could make sense.
no, definitely can. In terms of Shayna losing, is there a high probability of it happening? Yes, but
Yes.
there's
Yeah.
positivity on her side, because I feel like, again, like as you said with like Dakota, how Dakota's kind of like a benefactor of Triple H. So is Shayna, you know.
I was gonna say there.
Yeah, you can see like Shayna's run in NXT and how much she was protected, how much she was feared, how much she looked like a dominant champion. So there's also the positive chance that Triple H can see that and seeing Shayna like, we're not using her like we should be. We could do something great with her. You see what I'm saying? So I don't know. It could be interesting to see what happens, but we shall see.
All right, so that was all of Mom's questions and comments, and so we are done. We got done pretty early today. I'm
Yeah,
surprised.
we didn't do a massive episode like we're accustomed to, but it's good. I feel like it's easier for the listener to digest a simple episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so awesome. I'm glad we got through all the questions, and I had a lot of fun doing this episode, like we usually do with our episodes. And
Oh yeah.
if you're a new listener and you made it this far, thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to listen to us talk about wrestling. You can follow us all across social media. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. We're all over the place. The main place you can find us to get easier access and updates on the show is probably Twitter, where you can follow us at Ringside Rundown on Twitter if you want updates to the show and things like that, and updates to what we have going on. Like I said, we're on Facebook, Instagram as well, at Ringside Rundown, and Facebook.com/Ringside Rundown. I do Twitch streams now where I watch all of AEW shows and WWE shows live along with chat on Twitch. So twitch.tv/Ringside Rundown. If you want clips and uploads of the podcast and stuff like that, go to the YouTube channel, which is at Eric_Ringside. All right, Shay, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at ShaileenHickson21. Just go follow Eric on all his stuff. He's doing a lot of work on the other side of the podcasting. I don't know what we want to call it. Company.
I just full-fledged. Oh, I'm a wrestling content creator now. I'm trying to turn us into like a beacon of wrestling information, like Fightful or something like that. It's just I feel like with the podcast we have such a good format, and we do so good that it deserves to be seen by as many people as possible, and we're
Yeah,
seeing some success. I mean, the TikTok is taking off. The YouTube is going crazy. I've only been uploading for about 2 weeks, and we're already at like 84 subscribers on the YouTube. Uh,
yeah,
a bunch of you, like it's crazy. Like I almost feel stupid. Like I should have been this invested right away. You know?
yeah. Hey, I mean, we live and we learn.
Yeah, so yeah, like you said, there's a bunch of links and places to follow us. If you need to, go to linktree.com/ringside rundown, and it has a whole list of all the links you can find ringside rundown content. But again, yeah, follow Shay too, because follow Shay has a lot of interesting stuff going on. I love that you tagged me in that Star Wars post to help you out.
Yeah, yeah.
May the
First, I tried.
May the 4th is a important day in your calendar year. I
My
know that.
favorite holiday.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. So yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on in Ringside Rundown world, because we're trying to take this to where we can go to WrestleMania and maybe interview and have some fun stuff, some fun content for you guys through us.
Yeah,
So
maybe
that's the goal.
someday.
Yeah, that's the goal. We want to get paid to go to Vegas.
Yeah, yeah, really. We don't want it to pay to go.
Yeah, we don't want to have to shell out tens of thousands of dollars to go like some jabroni. We want it paid for us.
Yeah, exactly. We we
Well,
we want to go all expense paid.
exactly. Well, for Shay Hickson, my name is Eric Vasquez. Thank you so much for hanging out with us on the Ringside Rundown podcast. We shall see you next time.
See you later, guys.